This marks the 6th part of this manhwa. If you haven't viewed the previous parts, you can access it by clicking the I button located above, or the link is provided in description. Let's aim for 200 likes on today's video. To show your support, consider subscribing to the channel. Patrick exclaimed while he really wanted to see them all. Looks like everyone is safe. Swallow let out a sigh of relief and stated he is safe now. Patrick then inquired, those clothes were a present from Renee, right? In his thoughts, Patrick considered the consequences of leaving another hole in Renee's heart, and concluded he have no idea what would happen, so that's good. Continuing the conversation, Patrick stated, either way this is as far as they go. The captain commanded all of them to get back. Patrick inquired, is he their leader? The captain questioned, how did they find them? Patrick speculated, the item must have been crying out for its owner. Swallow interjected, expressing her fatigue, and stated, let's hurry and get back so he can rest. Patrick thinks he will let it go just for today, boss, since he have been running around for so long. Patrick then addressed the captain, saying, hey captain of the back alley, you chose the wrong item to steal. Do he still have no thoughts of returning it nicely? The captain retorted, is there any guarantee that you guys would just leave if he were to return the item? Patrick conceded that he is right when he thinks about it. The captain sensed something was amiss and thinks even if Rosalina had left traces, they found them too quickly in the dark. It would be impossible unless there were some kind of monsters. Could it be? And check the bone and continue with his thoughts that a dark magic? The captain then inquired, are you guys ones who live in the dark? Patrick replied, well, he guessed the cave is pretty dark. In his thoughts, the captain concluded they must be dark magicians. He then inquired, this rib bone must be really important to you guys. Patrick affirmed that's a given. It is a part of his body. The captain stated, so you treat it with as much importance as a part of his body. Patrick clarified, nope, it is a part of my body. Stop stalling for time and return it. Then bones were thrown into the air by the captain, and as Rosalina and Toth were ordered to retreat with the people who couldn't move well first, Patrick swiftly moved towards the bones, exclaiming, my ribs. Patrick leaped forward at full stretch, seizing the falling bones. In the shadows, a hidden figure quickly positioned himself and struck at Patrick's head with such force that the weapon broke upon impact. Patrick turned his gaze towards the assailant, surprised him, and the attacker believed he had caused no damage. On the other hand, Swallow yawned and remarked, was that a rock just now? The condition of this place must really be bad. Suddenly someone approached Swallow from behind and attacked with a dagger, which also broke upon impact with Swallow's body. He swiftly grabbed the attacker by the neck and lifted him into the air. He exclaimed, whoa, he guessed they do have decent weapons. What should he do with this, master? Patrick replied, wouldn't it be fine if they dropped the act now, boss? Swallow told the attacker, hey, stay still. Patrick suggested, well, how about they knock them all out first? Swallow questioned, he want to let them all live. Patrick clarified, he is not saying they should let them live but to treat all of them the same. Swallow shrugged and stated, whatever. He is so tired that he's not sure if he can control his strength properly. Patrick proposed, well, wouldn't it be fine if he is just tried? Meanwhile, in the core of the ancient dungeon, Renee inquired, do she think Mr. Swallow is doing well? Mel's replied confidently, of course. Renee expressed concern, stating it has already been over half a day since Mr. Swallow left. Mel's responded, oh, I see. It has only been half a day. Renee inquired if nothing should have gone wrong with Mr. Swallow, expressing her worry about whether it is right for just the two of them to enjoy a relaxing break when Mr. Swallow could be starving out there. Mel's replied, telling Renee that she is overthinking it and questioning if there is a reason for such a great person to skip meals. Mel's thinks about how many times Renee has brought up this topic. Renee admitted that Mel's is right and she is worrying too much, stating that Mr. Swallow and Patrick are just at a human village and couldn't possibly run into any trouble. Mel's wishes for Renee to stop. Mel's pointed out that the ancient monster is the ruler of all things and the Death Knight responsible for death. Therefore, why is she concerned? In the present at Harston, Patrick expressed that the situation is more troublesome than he thought. Meanwhile, Swallow was happy to have his clothes back. Patrick commented that it wasn't bad for a human to actually surprise him a bit, and mentioned that he was hoping they would have a map since they are thieves, but they seemed to be unlucky. He suggested that it might be better to hurry and end this rather than dragging it out. He turned towards Swallow to ask a question but became shocked and shouted at him not to lie down already. Swallow responded by suggesting that he should try lying down too, as it's cozier down there than he would think. Their conversation was interrupted by a trembling voice apologizing and confessing to being the one who stole. The voice pleaded them to not involve others and asked to be taken her instead. Then Toth approached and told her to get up, questioning if she think they will let them off with just that. She mentioned the captain, but Toth warned her that they don't have the slightest intention to let them off. Swallow realized that they know and ordered Patrick to take care of it. Patrick agreed and started moving towards them. Toth threatened to kill Patrick if he got close, but he didn't stop and continued walking towards them. She pulled out a pendant and started praying, causing mana to circle around the pendant. Noticing that Patrick trembled a little, he quickly approached her and inquired where she got it from. Patrick thinks a rosario in the shape of a phoenix that resembles a reversed cross, with mana leaking out from it. It is mana for surveillance to have a surveillance magic on a resident of the slums. He quickly moved towards Swallow and exclaiming, "Boss!" Swallow inquired, "What is it?" Patrick replied, "The people of Harston are being spied upon by someone." Once that young lady prayed with the rosario, surveillance mana started leaking out. That means that the rosario will activate under special conditions. If they can find out what those conditions are, they will be able to figure out what the person who gave her the rosario is up to. Swallow responded, "It's not like Harston is a city known for magic. First a magic stone and now an item with magic in it." Patrick stated he will try to get the humans to cooperate with them, so please cooperate, boss. Swallow inquired why. How is he going to get them to cooperate in this situation? Patrick confidently stated, "Of course, he have something amazing thought up in here, boss." Patrick apologized for before, stating that it wasn't because they had stolen their things. He explained that they had received a royal decree to not leave any traces of conflicts behind. Toth questioned the royal decree and asked who issued it. Patrick honestly replied that they were from a secret organization called the Fog of Roano and are called Shadow Knights, who took direct orders from the Empire's royalty. Nervously, Toth inquired about the Shadow Knights, to which Patrick laughed and assured him that they had no intention of causing harm. Toth then asked why they were in Harston, and Patrick explained that they were there to save the city. He went against the royal decree to keep everyone alive because he needed information to analyze the situation and send necessary supplies and manpower. He inquired for Toth's help in recovering peace in Harston. People around them started discussing, expressing their support for the royal knight and their relief that the king hadn't abandoned them. One person shouted that they should help Sir Knight, while another exclaimed that they were finally done with their current life. Patrick believed that the persuasion had been successful and commented on how easy it was to deal with humans. Swallow inquired if they were going back, but Patrick stated that they were just getting started, as he was starting to notice more and more strange points. Swallow thinks that although he appreciated Patrick's efforts, things had become more problematic because of him. Swallow mentioned the importance of being cautious of enemies around him. Confused, Patrick asked what Swallow meant by that sudden statement, but Swallow brushed it off as nothing. Patrick urged Swallow to get up and start working as the situation had escalated. Swallow sarcastically remarked that he seemed unusually fired up and questioned if he couldn't handle things on his own. Frustrated, Patrick inquired, "Is he serious?" He stated he will keep an eye out on the captain, who is the most suspicious, so he should stay with the people and try to get close to them. Swallow began sweating nervously and inquired if he was being told to get close to the humans. Patrick replied that they have no choice, boss. Between the knight in full armor and the beggar-like boss, who do he think will have an easier time getting closer to the people? Swallow questioned, "Did he just say beggar-like boss?" Patrick clarified he was just making an educated guess. Make sure to get close to them before he get back to him. Try mingling with them by following what they do. Swallow thinks like the humans? First, they must spend most of the day asleep. Most of the ones who are awake are in a daze. Even when working, they probably just half-ass it. He cannot see them having any motivation. This is really good. He stated he just have to act as he have always done. Patrick responded he is not sure how he came to that conclusion, but it won't be that easy. Also, the religion that passed out the rosarios needs to be investigated. Please don't forget that. In other words, he is asking him to suck out all the information from these humans. The faster they finish, the faster they go home and rest, right? Swallow replied, "Yes, master, of course." Patrick added, "Oh, and he is telling him this just in case. He have to keep his composure even if the humans are a bit rude. It won't be easy to get close to the humans." A little later, one person inquired, "Sir Knight, he said he were part of the Fog of Roano, right?" The second person questioned if he is a knight of the Empire's royal court, he must have come from Reyes, right? The third person asked, "I heard Reyes is a place full of milk and honey. Is that true?" The fourth person inquired, "Sir Knight, how come the other knight has full armor on but he is in such clothes?" The second person replied, "You dummy, it's probably a disguise. Do he think he usually walks around like this?" The fourth person replied, I see. Swallow thinks, damn it, why is it so difficult to get close to them? He can't even breathe. If he had a choice he would have just devoured them all. That's right, he have to get close to them and be friendly. Swallow then inquired, so what is he so curious about? The child replied, have he ever had the chance to see Sir Vern and Sir Wooin in person? Swallow answered, no, he don't even know who they are, but he believes those two names do sound familiar. Rosalina approached Swallow and apologized, Sir Knight, she is sorry for stealing their belongings. Swallow responded, well, it's fine since he got them back. Toth approached and introduced himself and stated he will be taking charge here as the captain is away. The captain ordered him to fulfill their requests as much as possible. They said they had come here to rescue Harston. Swallow confirmed yes he did. Toth suggested if he want to know the situation the village is currently in, it'll be quicker to see it with his own eyes than to hear about it. If it's okay with him, he will guide him right away. Swallow thinks, why is he trying to do that right now? But if he stay here he will be bombarded with questions. Swallow then agreed that's a good proposal. Let's go right away. A little later Toth stated, let's go to the residential area first. Swallow inquired, where are all the people? The streets are empty. Toth replied he will know when he open this door. Toth pushed open the door and explained they are the people who starved to death. In this place he can't even steal food from their neighbors because there isn't any. Even the ones alive don't know when they'll starve to death. Swallow pondered the dire situation in Harston, contemplating the possibility of starvation leading to death. From the very beginning there had been a lingering curiosity within him. In most cases when a village faced famine, the anger and frustration would be directed towards the lord of the territory. The enraged citizens would rise armed with pitchforks and torches ready to revolt against their oppressor. The black disaster had brought Harston perilously close to the brink of famine, yet the people seemed to be succumbing to starvation without putting up a fight. Toth, addressing the matter, informed him that it had been over a month since the black disaster had struck Harston. Swallow, perplexed by the silence and lack of resistance from the villagers, questioned why the village remained so eerily quiet, and why the people had not risen in revolt against their dire circumstances. Toth inquired, is not he curious, Sir Knight? In the present, at the core of the ancient Mells expressed a strong desire to go to Harston with Mr. Swallow, finding it boring to stay in the dungeon. Renee reminded Mells that Mr. Swallow had entrusted them with the dungeon, and questioned if there could be anything more important than that. Renee believed that Mr. Swallow trusted her more than Mells, referring to Mells as a thieving cat. Mells realized that Renee's statement was true, and Renee emphasized the need for Mells to stay focused at all times, as they never knew when humans would invade. Mells assured Renee that she were checking regularly and even used a mid-rank magic observer's eye to confirm. Renee agreed that it was a good idea since she would be cleaning. Mells then informed Renee that someone had invaded, deducing that it was likely a single person based on the observer's eye reaction. Renee urged Mells to get ready as the invader approached. Later, an intense red aura rushed towards them, and the person questioned why they were all so jumpy. Renee was surprised upon seeing the person, while Mells asked what was wrong. The person was the boss of Chite Castle, the great evil dungeon, Elizabeth Battery. Elizabeth inquired Renee if she had been well, to which Renee apologized for not having much prepared if she had known ahead of time about Elizabeth's visit. Elizabeth reassured Renee that there was no need to be bothered and jokingly suggested that Renee could give her blood if she really wanted to prepare something. Renee firmly replied that it wouldn't be possible. Elizabeth expressed disappointment and then inquired about Mells, wondering if they were someone new. Mells proudly declared herself as the ruler of the monsters, the 17th descendant of the demon king Asmodeus, Mells the Agria. Renee stated she forgot to introduce her to Mells. This person is the boss of Chite Castle, Lady Elizabeth. Elizabeth stated she is a young demon king? No wonder the aura around her was interesting. Mells whispered to Renee, will she be able to see all the dungeon bosses if she live here permanently? Renee stated, Lady Mells, she sure say some funny things, talking about mooching off them here forever, she sure have no shame. Elizabeth inquired if she is saying she's mooching off her, does that mean she isn't a member of Primordial Core yet? Then where's Patrick and the dull guy? Renee replied the two of them stepped out for a moment. With a worried face, Elizabeth inquired what for them to be absent at a time like this. Renee inquired, did something happen? Elizabeth stated the villages near Chite Castle have all been destroyed. All of the humans must have died since the village was sprayed with blood, but there were no corpses, none at all. She don't think it was something done by the humans. The blood on the floor was all flowing one way as if a path had been made, and at the end of that path was Harston. What could that mean? Mells wondered to think the corpses all disappeared. Could it be the undead? Elizabeth replied, yeah, but there aren't many who could do something like this. Most undead do not have intelligence. The ones that do have the special title of elder and are of a higher tier. The army of the dead moving together means that someone must be controlling them. The lord of the undead immortal King Irivos. He's the most suspicious one. Trembling Mel's exclaimed the name Irivos while covering her mouth with her hand. Elizabeth stated she don't have concrete evidence, but she need to notify that dull guy. Do she have any monsters that can send messages? Renee replied, no, the dungeon is currently empty. Elizabeth inquired if there should be some form of communication available. Renee responded by saying that there wasn't, but she believed in Mr. Swallow's decisions. Elizabeth privately thought that believing in such a person was unfortunate, and commented that it was a good thing Patrick was resourceful. She expressed concern and stated that someone needed to inform him. Renee inquired what they should do, to which Mel's agreed and suggested that it was time for this great one to step up. She concluded that it couldn't be helped. Meanwhile at Harston, Toth explained that the Black Disaster was the catalyst for all the troubles. Shortly after the disaster, someone set fire to the fields, destroying all the crops that were ready for harvest. The fire spread rapidly, reducing everything to ashes. During this time, a rumor began circulating that the crops in the area affected by the Black Disaster were contaminated, and consuming them would result in painful consequences. As a result, Harston became a cursed land. When news spread that even the Emperor had given up on Harston, the people fell into despair. However, within that despair there was a glimmer of hope. A wealthy commoner couple stepped forward and generously distributed their unaffected crops to the residents. Some individuals even proposed that they should unite under the couple's leadership. Just as everyone was starting to feel hopeful and believe in a better future, the couple was found brutally murdered in their home. It was assumed that someone with a greed for food had killed them. After that incident, trust among the residents vanished. With no trust, there was no cooperation, and everyone fought to protect their own food, ultimately starving to death. The inhabitants of the back alleys managed to survive thanks to the rumors of contaminated crops. Swallow stated, unlike the rumors, they were fine even after eating the crops, right? Toth replied, so far yes. Swallow thinks there's no way the crops that haven't even touched his body would be contaminated. Someone must have spread those lies with bad intentions. Toth stated, then let's go to the next place. A little later, Toth stated at first everyone thought that they would be able to overcome this disaster quickly. And this is the result of being self-assured, since bugs would gather if the corpses were left on the streets. They dug holes and started piling them up like this. Swallow inquired, they don't burn them. Toth stated, of the people who lost their family, there are many who are still unable to let go. It's more about nobody wanting to assume such a troublesome role. Swallow inquired, can't they do it? Toth stated he didn't tell him earlier, but the couple that was killed had a daughter. Swallow inquired, what about it? Toth stated he is saying that Rosalina's parents are also somewhere in that pile of corpses. Swallow stated, I see, and inquired, do those soldiers always stand guard there? Toth stated, yes, they guard in 2 shifts. They aren't really protecting but controlling it. Swallow thinks soldiers controlling the gates in a situation like this. They must be following the Lord's orders, right? Yeah. The lord of this place is suspicious. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to Patrick, who thinks there isn't a better way than to directly meet him in such a situation. They won't be able to see through his plans with normal means. For that reason, he stole a harpy egg. The harpies should come after this egg, right? That's when he will appear, and to get rid of them, allowing him to meet the Lord. It's a brilliant plan. He must be a genius. A little later, Patrick stated that was the plan, but damn it, he didn't expect so many of them to come. This marks the conclusion of the 6th part of this manhwa. The 7th part will be uploaded after there were at least 3 to 4 chapters of this manhwa released. So remember to like and subscribe to the channel for future update. Leave comments to share your experience. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.